So this is a shoulder girdle mobility sequence. So we're going to start off by lying down. So just taking a moment, settling down into the floor. I'd like you to bring your legs to bend, the soles of your feet into the floor, and just take a moment, rotate your palms up towards the ceiling. Now, a really nice way of coming into the space of the shoulder girdle, an area where many of us feel tight and tense, is just to kind of, walk the shoulders, walk them out from side to side. So you're just settling your shoulder blades into the floor. Now, as I've explained previously in these recordings, if when you lie on your back, you notice that you have more of a lift through the chin, more of an excess of a curvature in the cervical spine, which again is very common, I'd like you please to just use a blanket or a pillow underneath the back of the head, because this is just going to enable us to find more of a neutral position. The primary mass is the head, the ribs and the pelvis. This means then that I'm not overly arcing through here, and when I overly arc through here, it doesn't feel right in the shoulders. So just be aware of that. Try it. Just sort of figure out where you're at in time and space. So this is as much about becoming more aware of the body as also becoming more mobile, flexible, and tuning into the inhale and the exhale. So from here, just take a moment. Come into the space of your long, deep in-breath and your long, slow out-breath. Feel the connection of the soles of your feet into the floor. And just gently allow your fingertips to curl in lightly towards the palms of your hands. So we're definitely feeling space and release here before we begin. As you breathe in, allow your belly to inflate. And as you exhale, allow your belly to deflate. Soften your face, your jaw, your lips, and your tongue. And then really slowly on your next inhale, I'd like you to just peel the backs of your hands, your forearms, elbows, upper arms away from the floor, and reach your arms up towards the ceiling. So as you find an arm extension, your elbows are in line with your shoulders, your wrists in line with your elbows. Keep your shoulder blades pressing and connected down into the floor. Now on your next inhale, I want you to reach your fingertips further up towards the ceiling, lifting, elevating your scapula away from the floor. And on your exhale, you're going to slowly lower them all the way back down. You're breathing in as you lift, and you're breathing out as you lower. So this is a great shoulder, upper back, neck release. Breathing in, breathing out. Synchronize the movement of your body with your breath. Your breath is your internal metronome. So set that smooth pace. Notice any clicks and clacks. Notice any differences between one side and the opposite side. You're going to do that a couple more times. Don't strain into the back of the neck. Do that once more. Now from here, we're going to crisscross the arms over the chest. So there's two options here. We either crisscross the upper arms and allow our fingertips to just nestle into the floor either side. Again, allow your shoulder blades to just drop into the mat. Notice what's going on in your neck. If you need to find a little bit more space in the neck, then slightly draw your chin towards your chest. I like to use the visualization that there's enough space between your cervical spine and the floor for a tiny little brown mouse to just nestle into that space. So you don't want your neck flat into the mat underneath you. So if this is good for you, then stay here. Otherwise, a really nice chest opening, shoulder opening, is to bring your upper arms in line with your shoulders. I call this cactus arms, and your forearms in line with the sides of your head. Your palms are rolling up towards the ceiling. Great stretch for the pecs. Breathing, see if you can lift your inhale high into the chest, the top tips of the lungs. See if you can lift your inhale a little bit higher into your collarbones. And as you exhale, just allow your exhale to release. Drop your shoulder blades a little bit deeper into the floor. We're going to take a couple more breaths here. And then really slowly, when you're ready, you're going to roll onto your left side and then just gently push yourself all the way up to sit. So we're going to sit cross-legged. Again, use your props if you need them, your block or your pillow underneath your sit bones. We're going to bring the hands onto the tops of the shoulders, and I just want you to start to circle into the elbows. So as you breathe in, lifting your elbows up towards the ceiling. As you breathe out, circle them down towards the floor. Breathing in and breathing out. See if you can create that effortless space. See if you can create as much freedom in this circular motion as much as you can. So be aware of any tightening. Be aware of any unnecessary activation. We're trying to free up the shoulder space. We're trying to find more space in the shoulder girdle. As you next bring your elbows to touch, you're going to now change the direction of your circles. As you inhale, lifting. As you exhale, lower. Breathing in. Breathing out. A few more. And then we're just going to release and take a moment. So we're going to do some wrist rotations. So this movement is great. What we find is when we're tight in the shoulders, when we're tight through the main joints of the body, this has then an impact on the lesser joints. So when we're focusing on the shoulder girdle, if we're tight in the shoulders, we're going to have twinges in the elbows, we're going to have twinges in the wrists. So as much as we can limber into these areas, into the lesser joints, the better it's going to be in the end, the chain reaction into the shoulders, the upper back, and in the neck. So we're going to interlace the fingers, press the palms. I want you to press your forearms together, and we're just going to start to circle into the wrists. So again, just take the movement slowly, explore the movement, find any areas that feel twingy, any areas that feel restricted. Notice if your wrists or your hands are bypassing any of this movement, and then turn your circles in the opposite direction. Now, what happens often with the body is it will automatically protect itself. That's what it's supposed to do. So when we slow the movement down and when we tune into the messages that our body is sending us, pain signals, then we're able to notice if indeed the body is bypassing any movement. So this again is coming back into the idea of really tuning into the movement and becoming aware of where we're holding tension and tightness in the body. So we're going to transition into a kneeling position. If for whatever reason your knees are really tight, it's fine. You can stay in cross-legged. Because we've held that cross-leg position for a little while, it might be that you want to change the cross of the legs or just take a moment to ease out. If you're in a kneeling position and your sit bones are away from your heels, you can again use a block or a pillow into the space between your sit bones and your heels, because what I'd like you to do here is really sit back into the heels. But if we're tight in the knees because we're tight in the hips and therefore the ankles, this is going to feel really uncomfortable. I don't think it necessarily means that we shouldn't do it, but it just means that we won't be able to hold it here. So again, coming into the idea that we're using props, we're using pillows, we're using blocks. You know, if you've got blocks available or more cushions, if as you use a pillow or a block and you're still way away from your heels, then use another one. You know, really build yourself up, because otherwise what happens is if we're holding on in space and we're not using something to sit back on, we're automatically causing more activation in the lower body. And when the focus is on the upper body, we're not going to be able to fully fall into the motion and the movement. So this is the yin and the yang of the yoga practice. So we take the rough with the smooth. We can work our bodies really hard, but equally we know too that if we work really hard, we're going to rest really hard. So we're going to set into a position, we're going to take the right arm up and the left arm behind. Now you want to try and find a clasp of the hands here, and I'm going to turn my back to you in a minute so you can see this from behind. Now many of us, the hands won't clasp, and that's fine. You guys, if you can't clasp, can just keep the hands here. If you have a belt or a strap or a scarf, you're going to use that now, and you're going to use that as a kind of resistance. So you can hold on to your scarf or your belt. Now, I was playing around with this today before I was filming this session, and what we want to try and do here, once you've found the bind, if it's available, or you're using a prop, or maybe you're just feeding your fingertips, moving them up and down your back if a prop isn't there. Now you want to try and swivel. You want to try and swivel the elevated elbow into the space in front of you, because what we want to do is decompress the shoulder blade down the back. Now this is going to give us a little bit more space. It's going to feel nicer on the neck, and we're just holding here. So breathe and notice. A few more breaths. And then on your next exhale, you're going to slowly release and just take a moment. Now to set that up the other side, I'm just going to show you that from behind. So as we do the left side, again, resetting into the kneeling position, I want you now to raise your left arm up, your right arm behind. So if you can't clasp, it's fine, you can stay here. Your left palm is onto your back. Your right palm, the bottom palm, is going to be facing away, because what we're doing here is we're working the shoulders into a full outward and inward rotation. If you have a strap or a scarf or a belt, you can use that now if your hands are way away from each other. And this means that I have something to hold on to, and I can slowly start to crawl my hands towards each other. Or if you're lucky enough, or you're mobile enough, not necessarily luck, but more mobile, and you can clasp the hands, then that's cool too. Keep your elevated elbows swiveling in towards the side of your head. You want to keep your shoulder blades moving down your back. Think about your spine extension here. Feel the connection of your sit bones into the pillows or into the blocks or into your heels underneath you. Breathe, notice. Notice if you're overly arcing through the spine to find the clasp of the hands. Don't do that. You want to keep your lower ribs drawing in towards the center of your body. Don't come into this position. You want to stay with your primary masses stacked. Let's take a couple more breaths here. One more. And then slowly release all the way out. Okay, so from here now we're going to come into a high kneeling position. So as we come into a high kneeling position, again, the knees are going to come underneath the hips. If you have anything going on in your knees, you can fold your mat in. You've got your blanket perhaps. So really look after your kneecaps. Super important. So we're going to start to extend the arms. You're going to lift your fingertips up towards the ceiling. Now I want you to interlace your fingers, but you're going to bring your first two fingers to point up towards the ceiling. Try and draw your arms to hug your head as much as you can. You might find that as you come into this position, the arms are going to bend. Again, this is going to depend on the space and the mobility in the shoulder girdle. So what we're looking for is extended arms. If that's not possible, it's fine, soften into the elbows. Now we're going to start to draw really tiny little circles into the space above us. Really tiny little circles. Remembering we can tuck the toes under behind if we want a little bit of extra stability. And then we're going to start to take those circles a little bit bigger. So we really start to work into the movement. You want to try and keep your pelvis as neutral as possible. There'll be a little bit of rocking motion through the center of the body, but you don't want to overly work into this. You just want to start to really work through this motion into the upper back, into the shoulders. Tune into the breath. Go easy on your neck. And then we're going to change the direction of the circles. Also really nice for opening the front, the back and the sides of the body. Couple more. One more. And then just take it back into neutral, release the arms and just shake them out. So release back, we're going to bring the sit bones back down into the floor. Your legs are going to bend. We're going to come into an M shape. Now I want you to take your hands behind you. You're pointing your fingertips into the space behind you. So again, we're finding that outward roll of the shoulders. Now before you do anything, I want you to press your palms into the floor and you're lifting your chest. Again, keep your neck neutral. So take a moment. Notice the position that you're in. Feel the soles of your feet connecting into the floor. Your toes are pointing forwards. Your heels are in line with your toes. And then really slowly, you're going to start to walk your hands away from you. Now take this slow. Use your deep in-breath and your long, slow out-breath. So as we start to walk the hands away, don't allow your chest to drop down towards or between the shoulders. Don't allow that rounding through the spine. You want to keep the spine extended. You're keeping your chest lifted. So this is really going to work into the tops and the front of the shoulders. Now I'm fairly mobile in my shoulders. So, it might be that your hands just creep a little bit away from the back of your body. It might be that you get to move a little bit deeper. When you hit your edge, wherever that might be, take a few breaths. So when we hold space and we work with the breath, imagine you're bringing your inhale all the way up through the center of the body, and as you exhale all the way down and out through your spine. And when we get to work in this way, notice any twinges in your elbows. So again, it's interesting, as I was saying earlier, if we have tight hips, tight shoulders, it's going to have an impact on the knees, the elbows, the ankles and the wrists. So you could start to maybe soften into the elbows a little bit. Be aware of that. Now, once we've held space for a few breaths, it might be that your edge starts to shift and change. It might be that you get to take it a little bit further, but it might be that you don't. And if you get to take it further, then again, just hold for a few breaths. Keep your belly drawing in and up. Keep your chest lifting. Don't allow that rounding through the spine, especially in the upper mid-back. Now to release out, again, really slowly and with awareness, we bring the hands closer in towards the pelvis. And then we're just going to take a moment. You're just going to hug your legs in and just drop your forehead down. Take a moment. So we're going to reset back into that high kneeling position. So again, using your mat for your knees if you need to, or your blanket. And we're just going to scissor the arms. So this is again a really nice release for the shoulders. So we crisscross the arms, we stack the forearms one in front of the other. Now I want you to alternate the stack. So on your next inhale, you're going to start to take your elbows out to the sides, squeeze. On your exhale, bring them, alternate the stack. So the opposite arm comes on top. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Keep the movement slow and controlled. Find that squeeze as you draw your shoulder blades one towards the other behind you. There's no rush. Synchronize the movement of your arms with your inhale and your exhale. Take your time. Ease into the body. Ease into the breath. Keep your pelvis stable here. If you need to tuck your toes under behind you, do that. Having to use that soft inward lift and lock to keep your pelvis stable. A couple more. Keep your face soft, your jaw. Once more. And then slowly again release out. Okay, so now we're going to come up to stand. So we're going to do some standing drills now. I love when I'm working with my shoulders to really free up the movement in the shoulders. So this is one of my favorite sequences to do to find this. So standing, again, just bringing your feet hip distance apart and pointing your toes forward, your heels in line with your toes, and just standing tall. Bring a little bit of soft space into the knees so we're not locking out the knee joints. And I just want you to slowly start to turn from side to side. So you're just finding and building the momentum of this movement. And as we find this movement, it starts to feel a little bit like you're kind of slapping the sides of your body with your arms and your hands. And then the more you get into this, the more that you feel that your arms are coming away from the sides of the body. You can soften into the knees a little bit more as you get more into the twist. Again, coming into that nice movement through the spine. And you're going to do this a few more times either side. Really enjoy the feeling of the air whipping around your arms and your hands. Don't let yourself feel dizzy. So if you start to feel dizzy, then slow it down. Once more either side. And then we are all going to slow the movement down now. So we don't abruptly stop. We just slow the movement and we're going to come back into neutral space. So we're going to do a front crawl motion now. So we start to slowly bring one arm up, one arm down, and then you start to front crawl. Bend the arms here and you start to bring momentum into the movement. Breathing and moving. Bend the legs. Again, enjoy the feeling of momentum. Enjoy the sensation of the passive movement. Freeing up the shoulders. A few more times. And then we're going to take the movement in the opposite direction. So now we're going to do a back crawl motion. So this is opening a little bit more into the front of the body. Again, bend into the legs. Notice any twinges down one arm or the other arm. A few more times. And then slow the movement down and just take a minute. Just shake the arms out. Notice the sensations in your upper body. Notice the sensations in your arms, your hands, and your shoulders. Okay, so now we're going to use the belt or strap or scarf, and we're going to do a little bit of limbering using a prop. So I want you to bring your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders. Now, if you're really tight in the shoulders, many people are. If you are, you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. I want you to give yourself more slack in the strap. Now, I want you to reach your arms up towards the ceiling. I want you to find straight arms. So this is going to be a good indication here of how wide you need to take the strap. So if you're here, then see if you can give yourself more slack. If you're fairly mobile in the shoulders, then you could take your hands a little bit narrower. So take time, extend the arms, breathe. Bring your awareness into your head, your ribs and your pelvis. On your next exhale, you're going to start to bring your arms down toward the front of your body. On your inhale, you're going to lift your arms up. Exhale, take your arms behind you. Breathing in, breathing out. Now your arms don't have to come all the way back into the space. You're breathing in as you elevate, breathing out, taking your arms all the way back, breathing in and breathing out. Now, as we set into this movement, I'm going to turn sideways because I want you to show you something. Be aware if, as you take your arms behind you, you start to arc the spine, stick your butt out. Don't do that. Don't do that. I would rather see your head, your ribs, your pelvis stack like this, but less of a movement through the shoulders. This is important. We don't want to start to overstrain into the shoulders in striving to create more space. You have to have patience. And that's why also we use alignment, as I was saying before. It's really important to use the alignment and the awareness of the primary masses. You're going to do that a couple more times. Then we're going to take this from side to side. So as you next reach your arms up, we're going to start to keeping the belt taut, shift over towards the right side. Take a moment here. Keep your chest forwards. Don't allow the left shoulder to come forwards. Keep your chest open, your arms straight. Come up through center on the inhale, on the exhale over to the other side. Keep your pelvis neutral. Don't push your hip into the space to the side, breathing in and breathing out. Repeat that. Go easy on your neck, in your own time with your own breath. Couple more times either side. Keep the belt taut as much as you can. Now, as you next come up through center, we're now going to find full circles as much as you can. You're breathing out as you bring the arms forwards, breathing in, breathing out to the side, breathing in, breathing out behind, breathing in, breathing out to the other side, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. Now, the more you get into this, it might be that you start to find a spherical movement all the way round. So this again promotes more movement into the shoulders. You're keeping your belt taut. If you like to separate the movement as we were just doing, that's cool, stay with that. Otherwise, trying to find that motion. Swirling, whirling motion through the arms. Awesome stretch across the front of the chest, being aware of your head, your ribs, your pelvis. Don't overly flare the ribs. Don't overly arc your spine. We're going to change the direction of the circles. Go easy on your neck. Notice if you're feeling this in the neck. Breathe. Pelvis neutral. Feel the soles of your feet into the floor. Keep your knees soft. Don't lock out in the knee joints. Once more. When it feels like you've done that an even amount of times in both directions, you're just going to place the belt down into the floor. Now we're just going to transfer back over to the wall. This is where we're going to end the session. So I have a few alternatives, really nice work into the shoulders. Now we're going to use a brick block or a book if you have one handy. So we set up against the wall again, and again, hands into the space and just set into your downward facing dog here. Check down to your toes. Your toes are pointing forwards, your heels in line with your toes. Your legs are straight and you're pressing into the wall in front of you. Make sure your hands are equal distance apart, that one isn't below the other. And swivel your armpits to face the floor underneath you. Keep your ears in line with your arms so the neck is long. Keep your shoulder blades moving down your back. Take a moment here. Breathe. Slightly draw your belly in and up. It feels like you're extending your sit bones deeper into the space behind you. The crown of your head is extending up into the space between the thumbs. Let's take a couple more breaths. If you need to soften into the knees here, that's cool. If you're softening into the knees, make sure your knees are tracking in line with your toes. One more breath. And then slowly we're going to change the position. So now, grabbing your book or your block, we're going to start to bring the elbows into the wall. So probably for most of us, the elbows are going to come a little bit wider than the shoulders. That's fine. Ideally, we want to keep the elbows tracking in line with the shoulders. You're going to bring your block or your book into the palms of the hands. So this is going to stay fairly active. Now you're a little bit closer in towards the wall. Check in with the alignment of your feet. Walk your elbows a little bit further up. Now the idea is that we're trying to press the chest towards the wall. Now if you hit the wall with your chest, you want to just take a little bit of a step further out from the wall, because if we hit the wall, then there's nowhere else for us to go. So notice that. Keep your elbows pressing. Press your palms into the resistance. Press your palms into the block or the book. So this keeps really active triceps, biceps, shoulder blades moving down. Go easy on your neck. Hold here. If you need to soften into the knees, do that. But if you're softening into the knees, please make sure your knees are tracking in line with your toes. Don't allow them to buckle in towards the center of your body. Breathe, soften into the neck, the jaw. Notice where you're feeling the stretch deep into the shoulder blades. Notice. Keep everything else soft, active space. Notice any sensations, any build-up of heat. Don't grit your jaw, soften your brow. One more. And then slowly we're going to release. So you're going to start to step in closer towards the wall. Drawing your chest, release the block, and just take a moment. We're just going to roll the shoulders back and down. Roll the shoulders back and down, one direction, and then the opposite direction. And that's it for our shoulder mobility sequence. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.